EDG will always go back to what's familiar, but moving over to the side of RNG and talking about kind of a nice positive is last game we saw RNG pick the Diana into the Azir. Diana won't have the ability.
What I love is they've still got the hype man in the top left hand corner. Yeah.
Way to slow it down. We just love hearing those gyos.
Well, we're back. Game number 2. Now, you were interrupted mid-point, sir, but before you go back into it, just note, folks, that this is a historic matchup. We've called this the El Clasico for a reason. And the reason is that because from 2014, these guys have been the face of adversity for each other. 2 championships held off against one another. And for the side of EDG, 2016 summer, 2017 summer against RNG, 2016 spring, 2018 spring for RNG. They're 2 apiece. And every time they go off against each other, that rivalry continues to burst into flames. And in this game, we speak of flames, we speak of the mid lane.
Xiaohu having this rumble into the Sylas, you do have Comment. You will be able to come out ahead in these short trades. So the thing I like about this adaptation is last game, RNG didn't have any pressure in the mid lane. It was Diana constantly getting pushed in by the Azir, but now they will have the push. They will have, as you like to call it, the hot pot combo.
Yeah.
And they just have so much big wombo combo ultimates going into these early skirmishes with the Cannon Barrage, with the Equalizer, with the Cataclysm. So RNG have a lot more tools to work with than they did last game. Another thing I want to highlight is we swapped over. Betty on the Senna this time is taking the Glacial Augment. Wasn't a big fan of the Guardian in the last game when you do have a bot lane that is looking for kill pressure. Not a very defensive, just play back style bot lane with the Pantheon.
But I want to take note here, Lyric, that Xiaolongbao is trying to cross the map for the bottom side priority. And he's been spotted out on a ward, but still heading into blue nevertheless.
He is on the Jarvan. Jarvan is a very strong level 2 skirmishing champion since you do have the Flag and Drag. We talked about that Xiaohu would have mid-pressure on Rumble. Instead in last game, RNG is a team that if they have priority, they always use it. So I love to see RNG make these sort of aggressive plays.
Even pushing off of Wolves as well. Information gathered from that ward. So Xiaohu really asserting dominance here in the early game. Much stronger start for RNG.
Much stronger draft, and again, we said this is a team that wants to accelerate the pace of the game. And though you might look at their draft and say, hey, there's a Senna, there's a GP, they don't want to do this. When you have something like the Jarvan Rumble in the mid-jungle 2v2, you have so many options about getting around the map, dropping that Cataclysm, and starting that snowball.
We've seen similarities in draft from teams like FPX where you'd constantly see the Rumble, the Jarvan, and the ability to make plays towards the bottom lane from that pressure. So I like the fact that Xiaohu in a commanding position again. Comet in the lane as well, we've talked about in the past. So bit of dominance to start the game off, right towards the turret, and good tracking from Xiaolongbao on towards Junjia, who's been bullied out early on.
This is how that matchup would go. GP does have so much pressure on the Mordekaiser from level 1, having access to his Parlay, which is a ranged ability, and the burn coming from his passive. So good things from Longxing. And we've set up RNG want to find their early game pressure from mid and jungle and bring that to their side lanes. Moving over to EDG, they want to take it a bit slower in the mid lane. You have the Sylas. He wants to get some levels. He wants to scale up. And it's all about, can Junjia find opportunities maybe in top lane, but especially around bot where you have plays like the Flash Flay Lantern coming from your Thresh.
But top first. Xiaolongbao might be here though, and might be able to counter gank. Junjia at level 3 himself, trying to move his way into lane. They're wondering, is there a ward there? You could see a missing ping going down and Longxing pushing into lane. I don't believe this has been spotted out. With the ping going down, with Audi slowly receiving the wave. Now it's all about the play.
When it comes to these kinds of top lane matchups, it is something you expect your jungler maybe to gank once.
Grass doesn't hit though. Flash is available here from the jungle. He's now been spotted out right into the air. Longxing goes, flashes away immediately. Okay, jungle for top. Summoner burn.
Actually, big benefit coming out on the side of RNG. We were just kind of setting up that this top lane matchup doesn't really matter too much in context of the game and for the junglers. And when you are playing something like a Rek'Sai, your engage is very... Let's take a step back.
I know, because that's Ming wanting to go in. Lands the grass pit from Betty. And Xiaolongbao was spotted out on the ward bottom side, so EDG, that could have been a very real threat. but we just get nullified again.
Once again from last game, Xiaolongbao shows on bot lane, so now Junja gets to take advantage of that and steal some camps in the top side. But going back to that earlier game top, Rek'Sai with his engages is very dependent on this flash knockup, so I'd say overall positive for RNG coming out ahead, only losing GP's flash.
Okay, and Junja as well, note that with using his own flash, he's getting these camps, but he is still behind in farm. While Xiaolongbao resets onto the map, he's going to say, hey, oh no, okay, oh yes. Xiaolongbao almost takes that wolf back, but spots out that there is a Rek'Sai towards his top side, instantly transitions, moving towards bot once again, where there's an Ocean Dragon waiting.
We do see pings coming out on the Ocean Drake, with Xiaohu getting back to lane now with these Sorcerer shoes. We already see his lane's already pushing in.
Yep.
RNG should just be able to start up this Ocean Drake for free. Betty already hovering around.
And you can see as well, look at where the Rek'Sai is. They notice he just did the camp towards Raptors. Backing away means good tracking once again from RNG.
Ooh.
As the flash comes through, aggressive from Ming, but Hope's left out. Can he get the Lantern? Only just. As the death sentence will not connect, but it doesn't matter. The dive's coming in.
Ming is such a decisive player, but ooh, Xiaohu.
Right on top. It's not a hot pot just yet. The Xiaolongbao doesn't have 6, but first blood goes over to the mid laner of RNG. Running away as Audi has now teleported in. The GP can't use TP, so RNG left on an island here as Audi flashes over the wall to take Xiaohu, but he's burning this top laner alive. Out of the death realm he goes. Scout finally comes in with the stolen Cataclysm. EDG equalize, it's only a 1-for-1, but a cheeky play nevertheless.
EDG finding an advantage on the end of that fight because Longxing uses ultimate very preemptively, trying to find a pick onto Hope, and as we saw, he doesn't have the TP, he isn't able to follow, and getting a 1-for-1 feels pretty good for the side of EDG, especially when you get to pick up the Ocean Drake.
After we talked about the flash engage from the Rek'Sai in the top lane, however, when you are trading, you're looking at what Longxing gets. 2 solo turret plating in the top side. And he's 20 CS up too. So now we start weighing and throwing around the dice as we look at this play.
We saw Mako hovering back, which set up Ming for this great decisive flash passive play to root him.
Yep.
EDG are able to get away, and we set up. RNG's comp is about how do they bring Rumble to the spot lane. Walk's very decisive play coming out from both of these members, but Longxing has no ultimate now. Longxing has no TP. Audi comes in. Xiaohu really has nowhere to go. Really cheeky flash coming out, maybe setting him up for success if he can get away. But still, EDG have the numbers advantage, and that's all that matters at this point.
Scout with a good Cataclysm to close that out. 1 kill for the mid laner of EDG. And he's equalized. In a lane, he's getting shoved out. He has now equalized that kill. And Xiaohu in a very fickle position here. But he will get out alive.
Xiaohu being able to take that vision when no one is showing in the bot lane and Longxing is pushing topside.
Yep.
Another interesting adaptation from last game is we see Audi going more towards the Zanya's first item. Could just be sitting on the arm guard to kind of survive that early laning phase, but as a Mordekaiser, it always hurts when your Liandry's is delayed.
Yeah, it really does, especially when you're going up into a matchup which makes your ult useless, so you already feel like you're a step behind. 20 CS behind as well, by the way, and 2 components of the Trinity Force already built up for Longxing as RNG take this topside Rift Herald with a bit of topside pressure.
Another interesting thing is seeing that Betty picked up an Executioner's Calling so early, which could come in, will come in handy in later game teamfights against the Mordekaiser, against the Silas, but picking it up in lane against Varus, who just has a Vampiric Scepter and some lifesteal from rooms, seems a bit too soon.
Okay, well, we're going to watch the trades either way in the 2v2 because like last game, Hope and Mako versus Betty and Ming. Surprisingly interesting for a fasting center lane, especially with the priority that's come towards the bot side. Betty and Ming are moving back to that lane with Xiaohu farming Krugs after getting the shove in the mid lane. And now we're just at the point of resetting before we fight again.
All of RNG's early and mid-game damage is dependent on Xiaohu, so I like that they're just trying to funnel resources into him.
Yep.
Great buy of Oblivion Orb early since there isn't any MR on the side of EDG. They're just going to do so much damage.
But look at where Xiaolongbao is, the jungler active once again here. Level 6 available, while Junja, he likes his bottom lane.
Junja looking for this bot side gank. This is what we set up
Scout's coming down as well, so either way, RNG need to get out. The flash burn here again from Junja onto the tanky Nautilus. The aftershock burns bright as they turn around for the first kill. With the Dawning Shadows already in, Ming looks for a little bit more, but a 1-for-1 when they're diving you ain't half bad.
Junja going in a bit too soon. Scout was on his way to the bot lane. They could have waited. They could have taken that more
meanwhile,
slow.
RNG with a 1-for-1 trade. They get top lane turret. Lungxing gets even more gold. And the Drift Herald's going to get another charge.
We're seeing great abuse come out from RNG's top side. I love how Longxing is really playing this matchup to its limits, really abusing Audi, and Xiaolongbao hovering around the top side, making it really hard for Audi to play the game. Great discipline coming out from RNG's top lane right now, knowing that Junja is coming off a death timer, can be top side. They don't need to take anything else.
100 CS and Trinity Force at 10 minutes 45. That is bloody absurd.
This is what happened when we saw EDG make that TP play bot side, all that gold getting funneled into Longxing. And again, we saw game one how good he was on the GP. Now it's about what can he do this time around when you do have more tools available in your composition.
He's even more heightened, that's right. So Trinity Force with normal boots there in the inventory, heading towards the top side once again with teleport almost available, and more importantly, Cannon Barrage, half the cooldown remaining. Betty going to get the shove here as well with a bit of turret plating available. And we're now getting a look at the gold because of that lane. Lungxing at almost 5k gold at 11 minutes in the game.
You're feeling great if you're RNG with your gold on your soul laners. We've talked about this many times. Fasting Senna does not need attention in this lane. You are playing for the other side of the map.
Yep.
The interesting thing to keep our eyes on, how will RNG approach this dragon if Cannon Barrage is not up in 20 seconds? Do EDG maybe try to force a play in that kind of window?
Because by what you were saying before, I'm going to hold because dangerous moment arises. What you were saying before is that RNG really want to push tempo. Like we talked about in game number one, this time around, RNG through those solo laners want to push the tempo to the max. And in front of Dragon right again, that seems like a really good discussion to have. Because 2k gold lead here for RNG. They look confident bringing even Lungxing down ready for the play.
The thing to look out for, though, is we do not have the key ultimates from Senna and GP up yet, so we want to see RNG posture longer, draw this out, and then get that big wombo combo from Cataclysm with all your damage on top of it.
Can they delay for 10 seconds for RNG for Lungxing's ultimate? Looks like yes. Betty as well, 5 seconds until his comes up and available. Ming left by himself in the bottom lane, but EG have been spotted as a 3-man unit here. Dangerous.
And they're going to close them in.
Ultimate available for Xiaohu. Mako. Flash. Yes. Summoner gone. RNG good positioning. Dragon started.
RNG just great position on to that dragon. They did waste enough time from EDG to get all of their ultimates back up. EDG realized, hey, they have priority through this mid lane with the Rumble like we talked about. We need to back off.
Stolen Cannon Barrage used here to stop that retreat, as you were talking about, but that's Scout's ult down.
Just seems like Scout had to blow ult because it was about to time out. Really no other option. Just, hey, get this out, lay down some damage. And we already see Scout has a massive tempo advantage on this top side. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to pressure a plate, as Xiaohu is going to be able to get up there very quickly with his W. And now we're just going to get back into a state of, okay, both teams catching waves, waiting for RNG to reestablish pressure, and then playing through that push from the Rumble.
And at least waiting towards that next Herald, that next Cloud Dragon as well, and see what becomes of it. Quick note as well, we mentioned before the gold lead, EG have closed that partially. Scout has been farming during this time, also has 2 kills to his name. Plus the Mordekaiser and Audi trying to catch back up himself. But look at Lungxing. There's 10 seconds left of turret plating, and he has demolished. That's another 320 in the bank of the GP.
I love it. This game is all about cash money on the side of Longxing, propelling that advantage. And as you were just pointing out with kills, we do see items finally starting to get built. Protobelt coming out from Scout. But look at that 720 gold on Longxing.
1,280 for the side of RNG. And yeah, even Xiaohu gets a bit of the reward there, but shared in the top lane success. And it's not often in RNG that people will say, hey, Lungxing is the carry, but boy, oh boy, this is his game to shine.
In last game, we talked about how with the Azir Varus combo, you had a lot of scaling options in the way you could play these teamfights back and abuse your range advantage. That isn't necessarily true this time around when you have things like the Sylas, still again the Rek'Sai, the Thresh, so going into scaling, RNG feel much better, especially the GP, where Scout has to get in close range to take these fights.
For a team that's ahead for RNG, that situation, you know, can be played a lot easier. Will bring us back. EDG have sent Audi to the bottom lane to get a solo turret himself. This top laner needs a bit of gold, still sitting on the Haunting guys and the Seeker's Armor Guard. So 300 in his back pocket, but RNG always trading. That's Rift Herald picked up yet again for Xiaolongbao.
RNG just playing it really smart, knowing that they can't defend the bot side of the map.
They want to hit the strongest member. That's Langxing, the level 11 GP, though. He has the ulti available on top of him. Junja ult, but he's going to die! Bang, bang! And Audi has to walk away. RNG do it, and now they're going to do it again. Audi gets flashed on, flashes away. And I tell you what, GP is a pirate. You don't mess with them.
Langxing coming out so ahead in these trades, and we talked about how decisive Ming has been on the Nautilus this game. We were just setting up. RNG were playing so well. They're taking the Herald, and they're not going to contest bot side. They know, hey, EDG's not showing on the map. We don't see Junja. We don't see Scout. Langxing plays far back, comes out ahead.
And this is what happens when Uzi's not in the roster. The solo lanes get to breathe. They're unlocked. And meanwhile, Betty's the quiet one. Langxing finally showcasing why in 2019, even in 2018, Xiao Al, as he's previously known, was one of the best top laners, even on the Suning roster.
And Langxing has had a really good split just overall. He's had some really key games on champions like Sylas, on things like the Aatrox. Obviously 2 games in a row on the GP where he's been the biggest member on this team.
And now almost towards the second item. Ladies and gentlemen, note that he had a Trinity Force and BF. After that play, he's picked up the Caulfield's Warhammer. Big boy Sparrow. 20 CS still ahead, 1-0-1. We're going to be singing the praises of him this game as Xiaolongbao might be caught out. The rest of RNG have to be careful. EDG are setting up vision around this dragon coming up in a minute.
Dragon's still pretty far out, so on the side of RNG, what we want to see from them is Langxing keep pushing out this top lane. When the Dragon is a bit closer, 20, 15 seconds away, the other 4 members of RNG group mid, push together, Langxing head down, and then head into the river as a unit. On the side of EDG, we really want to see them abuse Scout's solo pressure in this bot lane, have Junja hover, and take that pressure from the side lane.
The Sylas that has the blasting wand as well, so a bit of extra damage should be okay here for EDG to play around this Sylas, but you can see already that you just look at this, look at this GP, he's big. Bring your attention towards the Dragon, 20 seconds. As Ming finds the engage here on Mako. It's a good flag and drag as well from Xiaolongbao. He disappears for now, and Scout takes the depth charge. There's the hot pot, and I love it! It's so spicy! EDG have to flash away immediately as the TP comes in from Langxing, and Audi takes one himself with a flank, but the fight's already done. EDG lost it.
RNG just coming in with a really decisive engage. Xiaohu hadn't even rotated yet, but Xiaolongbao still felt safe to jump in with all the sustain from Senna.
Pathing from Junja, not the answer. He ults in, but it only delays the inevitable. Where EDG are losing their jungler, losing mid, and Scout might lose his life as Audi now has been caught out. The depth charge not available, but the dredge line is. Ming will survive, ultimate comes through, and that's another one. EDG are getting slaughtered running into RNG this game.
Just a basic mistake starting out from Junja, like you pointed out, with his pathing, making it very easy for RNG to just kill him as a 5-man, and then Audi kind of left in an awkward position because of it. All of RNG turns towards Dragon, picks off Audi, and they get 2 objectives, and EDG get nothing.
Absolutely nothing. And this is the RNG that, coming into this series, we hyped up. Game 1 was super cool from EDG, but this is the RNG level we expected, where coordination in these skirmishes and team fights is what is making this team look really good.
And we talked about how these mid and late game team fights would go, that RNG have a lot more tools available with these big team fighting ultimates, and EDG's comp having to play in a lot closer proximity.
Yeah.
So that benefits RNG immensely. On the side of EDG, you still need to get a few more items onto the likes of Scout Sylas before he can really safely jump into this backline and, you know, find picks onto things like Xiaohu and GP. Heck, finding a pick on GP is going to be extremely hard with how far ahead he is gold-wise.
Because by the time you get to that point where you can hurt him, well, he's already got the Mercury treads. He'll probably have a bruiser-built item that we've seen the GP go 3rd or 4th. Right now, I don't even want to look at Langxing. He's level 13 on the GP. He's still 30, 40 CS up, and he's heading towards that solo lane once again to face Audi.
And even if you do kill someone like Betty Senna, all of your damage is on Long Xing and Xiaohu. So as long as they land good ultimates, they come out ahead.
Well, I believe we have a pause, so that was very unexpected. And you know what? If I was the teams, I would say, Hysterics, put your jacket on because your jacket's not on. I took it off. It was a very intense game. And we're back. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the pause. We'll find out what that is straight away. That was very, very last minute. However, RNG and EDG, that was a perfect start to Game 2. And I want a little bit more.
RNG just showing up the way we've always expected them to. We did talk about that this team really likes to accelerate and constantly use their pressures, which we've seen from the very start of the game where they went for that level 2 invade on the blue buff. Xiaohu pathed over, Xiaolongbao headed in, and it's kind of been a fast rise from there on. Because
Xiaolongbao in the first game was so shut out that we actually didn't see him play at the very start of this series. This game played a beautiful early game, as you were mentioning there, and it felt like the condition of RNG, their options. There was a lot more of them, and they actually knew what their win condition was this game.
You can just do so much more when you have mid as a pressure point. As we've talked about, you can constantly hover for both sides of the map like we've seen, and it allows RNG to utilize their biggest strength, which again is that they utilize every window, unlike a lot of our other teams in the LPL. We see especially how decisive Ming's been playing with this Nautilus, flashing for that passive hit onto Hope and looking for these plays. So he's really enabled by this Rumble mid pick.
So far, it feels like the Nautiluses of the games are really like cementing it, right? Mako in Game 1, Game 2 Ming already performing legendary. But you mentioned the combination, the Rumble, the Jarvan at the start of the game, the Hot Pot. We saw that come into fruition and how potent it is for EDG. Walking into those chokes, I mean, straight away. Evaporation.
And that's why when we think of how these fights should play out, for RNG, it's live or die by, do our ultimates hit? Yes, we win. Do our ultimates miss? No. Well, EDG's composition has a lot of sustained damage in the Sylas and in the Varus that we then lose. So it's pretty black and white.
It really is. And in front of that next drag, and I'm looking forward to it. We do have a pause, ladies and gentlemen. We apologize for the delay. We're going to find out what that is and then get back into the game as soon as possible. But at this point, RNG leading game number 2. And a lot of questions on the board towards EDG, walking in one by one at the end of that play, really getting caught out. And I guess we see the weakness of a team that's been put together last minute where the strengths look really good, where it's like, wow, they're working together. But put into tense situations against RNG, it all falls apart.
These are still rookie players in Junja and Hope. And again, Audi does not have that much experience. So we shouldn't expect them to always play perfectly, right? Mistakes are going to come out, especially when you are adapting to such a high level of play. And again, we came into this series assuming RNG were the heavy favorites despite close match scores.
Yeah.
So EDG already showing in Game 1, what they can do is impressive.
A big reminder to everyone out there, 4 and 3, they're both sitting at the moment, which for both organizations is way below expectations. I think EDG, you could give them a couple more spots, but RNG, would you put them at your power rankings at the start of the year?
I think I might have had, I had RNG second.
Second?
I had the same final as Summer. I had FPX first, I had RNG second.
I think I had IG first, FPX second, RNG third.
And look where FPX is now. But still, I rated RNG really highly. Again, I've been a big fan of players like Betty for years, so when they brought him in, I'm like, okay, this is a nice boon for this roster.
In a way, a side grade, right? Because with Uzi, you're always going to be like, it's hard to ever upgrade from an Uzi, right? Like, he's the OG 80 carry of the league.
It's just different, right?
Yeah.
Because we've seen with Betty, they don't need to have as much focus on the bot lane, and we've seen Ming roam a lot more. We've seen Xiaohu get a lot more resources. Not saying that in previous years Xiaohu's faults are because Uzi's on the team, but Xiaohu has a lot more tools to kind of utilize, and that's why he's sitting at, you said, 32% of his team's damage.
He's red hot like this game. I mean, that's a really big start. Hey, a side note, as we're talking about Xiaohu, the issue has come from Long Xing. So Long Xing has a device issue, and they are working on fixing that so we can get back into games. So That's what happens when you're big like a GP. You overheat your PC, and you gotta do it all over again. You know.
I feel like the one who should be overheating is the Rumble, not the GP.
But yeah, okay. Well, you know what? Luxing's a big boy. You know, he's a very, very big boy.
We talked about again this game. The phrase "cash money" for Longxing.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Unlucky we don't have Klepto. You know. Can you imagine at the moment with all the tanks, just play GP with Klepto? How stupid would that be?
No, I don't want to go back to Cleft. I was always a big fan of the Grasp GP, which is a lot more about lane dominance because, and it's why if you look over to other regions like LEC, GP is a lot more prominent than he is here, is because GP has so many decent matchups in the top lane. You don't have anything that you really get hard smashed by. You can do your job against pretty much anything, and you do win against a lot of champions.
But I love here that people are willing to kind of flex around, like especially people like Natural on DMO with this Camille pocket pick. You know, like people like the Shy has like his Vladimir pocket pick as well. We're a lot more willing in this region to flex around with unique picks, and that's why it's like, well, what could be picked into the GP rather than what could the GP go into?
A lot more willing to dive top lane. We actually have seen so many. Heck, EDG is a team that does that so often. So when you do have teams that are willing to dive you over and over and over again, GP is a very squishy champion. He's very easily dove.
And we're back. Apologies for the delay. Longxing seems to work out the issue. And as we return into the game, remember where we were, rather, as we left you off. About 4K gold lead for RNG, a big GP that survived a dive, and a Dragon coming up in 3.5 minutes. RNG to pick up the last one, which was a Cloud, because we got another Cloud rip here for game number 2. And XLB towards the bottom side of the map right now. He's shadowing Longxing, who Audi is very upset that he has to lane against.
There isn't really an objective on the map that either team can force right now. Neither team is strong enough to really threaten Baron, so I like that Xiaolong Bao is looking to play it on bot. And EDG on the other side, trying to get a pick onto Xiaohu.
Oh, the equalizer stolen, the flash burnt. Meaningful summoner at this point in the game. And EDG commit 3 to the top side while the turret goes down in the bottom side. Now, you mentioned no objective. Of course, nothing that anyone wants to take, but the Baron's sitting there and will be watching us for 10 or so minutes more. As RNG move Betty down here as well. This is just a quick turret take. Okay.
RNG being first on bot side, we see how strong that Longxing is at taking these turrets. And Rumble still has the wave clear on top side, so it's not really like EDG can force anything when you have the equalizer still up.
Hasn't used it yet. Let's Scout push into the turret while Longxing is going to be hitting away on this turret once again. They force it. They get it. More gold over to the side of RNG. While the top turret stays standing, equalizer for the next wave used here. Scout still holding on to his, and it's the return wave clear that comes through.
The good thing for RNG too is you don't have another Dragon for 2 minutes, so you will have time to get that equalizer back for when you need it. And for RNG's comp now, the name of the game is really playing these team fights and skirmishes around neutral objectives, to where EDG do have more options of looking through picks, through their side lane pressure, with things like the Sylas and the Thresh coming in from Mako.
Mako's Thresh, the first time we're seeing it here in 2020. Again, a staple of his career. At the start of the show, if you missed out, we said 33 champions played by Mako, 30 by Ming. And over a career, that's still quite a lot. You know, we've been through a lot of meta shifts, and Thresh has always been the one that, for Mako, has stayed strong.
I also want to point out this Luden's Echo coming out from Sylas. This is not a common Sylas build at all, especially second item after the Proto Belt.
Yep.
We would usually see him go for the Zanyas, especially for your play pattern as a Sylas, where your job is to jump into the back line, you know, doing your best to give your cooldowns time to come back up, especially that Kingslayer, and be able to sustain back up. Going for a poke option is pretty weird. And again, it makes you question, how is Scout going to play this game? Is he going to just hard stick to trying to play through side lane?
Okay. Well, maybe matching that here is the plan for Xiaohu at the moment. But he's going up against Longxing. Probably easier at the moment from Aldi, who's been suffering against him at Junja. That's a very bold move. Walks right in front of the face of danger of Ming. And RNG with the shove in mid once again. 30 seconds till Dragon. They have priority once again.
RNG always being able to threaten this mid pressure with Xiaohu hovering on mid side, but Longxing is
Scout takes away the barrage on the other side. Equalizer gets laid down. There's the hot pot again, but this one hurts so much more. Hope with the inevitable death. It's 5 versus 4 as the death sentence lands. The box is there as well. They rush them into the turret. It's now an opportunity for EDG to fight back, but Xiaolongbao survives and so does Ming. It's only Xiaohu who drops a 1-for-1 in the end, but Audi now has to back with TP in hand.
That equalizer was absolutely beautiful from Xiaohu to start that off, but RNG over-aggressing just a little bit. Xiaohu ending up falling on the end of that play.
And they're still trying to find a pick at the back end of this. The death sentence does not connect. Long Xing gets the setup for the barrels. Flag and drag over 2. Long Xing, big sparrow again. Picks up another. And RNG are walking forward. Junja tunnels away while Audi and Scout are left on a mountain. But it's not hard for RNG to climb. They still get the kill. They still have dragon priority. But Long Xing wants more.
Long Xing hurts so much. And we just saw EDG trying to blindly walk into a place where they had no vision. Lets Long Xing hit a barrel very easily, and we said the consistent damage coming out from EDG's comp is Hope and Scout. Hope wasn't there. EDG don't have a hope of coming out on top of a fight like that.
They don't, especially not when they're facing down Soul Point here for RNG. Cloud in hand, and the 4th dragon on the horizon in 4 minutes. Baron still standing there, and that's a key objective now with a big lead that RNG continue to push. And with what we saw at the back of this.
Just look at how amazing this equalizer is. Hitting 2-man. Xiaolongbao right up, decisive, knowing to jump in. Great ultimate coming out from Ming, but RNG now just going a bit too far forward. Didn't really need to look for this. Xiaohu getting pulled into the death realm, it looked like, and getting hit by the turret. But still, off the back of that, EDG walked blindly in the river, and RNG just come out ahead.
I was wondering what the poppy look was, where 2 people got shoved back, and it was the death trap from Audi that set them into the box. So really nice coordination out of EDG. Compliments we were giving them in game number 1 that has been lacking a little bit here in the second. So at least still fighting back, and that compliment well deserved for a team that's already challenged the expected favorite here in this series.
But looking over to RNG's items, they are finally hitting all of those big power spikes that we want to see out of them. 3-item GP, those crits will be hitting huge. Jarvan getting that Gargoyle Stone Plate means he will able to actually function as a pseudo frontliner. And of course, Rumble having Morelos plus Leandres is his big power spike, especially all of the healing coming out from EDG.
Xiaohu bringing people together. He says, why can't we love both items? And he pulls them out of the hat. Needlessly large rod in the inventory as well on top of that too. As Sunfire, Deadman's Plate for Ming. He's been tanky for a very, very long time.
That's true. We forgot to mention, right, with it being the fasting Senna, Nautilus being the one to get all these items, so he is much tankier than someone like Mako would be on the opposite side.
Also has a QSS, so Audi can't ult him, and he can't ult the top lane GP on Lang Xing.
That's actually really funny that we see out Ming going for the QSS. Typically, you wouldn't see the support take that. They'll be fine with the enemy top laner death realming them, but Ming says no.
No, I'm the most important member. To be fair, 3-1-3 has a shutdown, so it could be a target here as RNG. You want to start the Baron? Okay, but you don't do this that quick.
They don't do it too quick, but still, if RNG do have all of their ultimates up, which they do, pulling EDG into close proximity, laying those ults down.
And look at where Lang Xing is, level 16 GP. 3K, they pull off, but they're not stopping. 2K, over the hill, Scout takes a Cataclysm. Junja in, it's early, they start it again. EDG lose it though, and look at the equalizer on top of them. RNG blow them away once more. It goes from 0 to 100 as they layer those key ultimates you talked about beautifully.
EDG pick up the Baron, but it doesn't matter. Xiaohu once again hitting an amazing equalizer with the cannon barrage from Long Xing. RNG just all on the same page, and this is what we expect to see out of a team that should be contesting the LPL championship.
1 Baron left standing here on Audi. 1 Baron to rule them all, apparently. But with larger death timers, the inhibitor's going to be taken. And RNG with the most significant fight here in this game, open the inhibitor.
And I love this from RNG. We don't see them posturing around like we did IG yesterday or top earlier. They know, hey, we're going to take this inhibitor, we're going to back off, we're going to get our reset, but just look at this. RNG backed off. It looks pretty bad when Junja gets into the pit right here and actually secures the Baron. But right here, great equalizer, great cannon barrage, and we talked about it. If RNG hit their ultimates, they win. It's that simple on the side of RNG.
God, Lungxing just goes in melee range and follows that up. Scout the last remnant here. Audi walks away. He knows he's got not a hope and chance.
And Ming, 4-1-4, showing why he needs that QSS. Betty, you're on your own.
Big Nautilus here on the side of RNG. And again, 8k gold lead here for the team that may have lost the Baron, but won the war. And those 3 items on Lungxing, that's going to grow. He's just backed away. He's picked up a Jorum's Fist and the pickaxe. So, Sterix Gage coming forth.
And we see this time on the opposite side, Audi going much more towards a team fighting build, picking up that Leandri's, going to slow everyone around him with his passive, with the obliterates, also going to make it easier to land that ability in the Death Realm. So, again, a bit of adaptation coming out game to game.
I do like, after all that though, EDG do get scout to the top lane, they get a bit more gold back in. They finally take down another outer turret. Meanwhile, Junja posturing aggressively here towards the mid lane. That Baron buff being used well. There's a flash chase of corruption. The found Xiaohu, he's dead. But the barrage comes down in the middle once again. RNG want to engage. They're confident in Xiaolong Bao, but the flash away from Betty and Ming. They need to disengage. EDG have found the pick, and now they've found 2. That's a big moment here for the losing team.
Xiaohu, what are you doing? Just so disrespectful, standing so far forward in that mid lane. Hope coming up so clutch. Nothing you would expect from a rookie player, finding key picks onto one of the key members on RNG's side.
And with timers like that, and with a Baron buff through the mid lane, grouped up, EDG, more gold in the back pockets, plus the shove is pretty supreme.
Especially when we talked about in these late game team fights, EDG will have more consistent damage, more sustained DPS. So if they can draw out this game longer, it gives them a much better chance in these fights if they can bait out the ultimates from the side of RNG.
When they were so far behind in this game, and now they're pushing bottom side jungle. Lungxing is going to go against that. Yeah, back away. Red buff still secured by Hope, by the way. So getting even more here on the side of EDG.
A big important thing to look out for is if Xiaohu will be able to, when he picks up that death cap. But here we just see again Hope very decisive, flashing forward. Yep. Rumble just too far forward in the lane. Now RNG are missing a huge part of their combo. It doesn't even matter if the cannon barrage hits, because on RNG's team composition, it is like the sum of the whole. You need all of it to land to come out on top against this EDG team. And
if that core member's not there in Xiaohu with the equalizer that has been perfect before, openings arise for EDG. Still getting pushed in the top lane though, so that was a moment of recovery, but RNG still have control after they've reset.
RNG now grouping up as 4, but Longxing does have TP. They do have all their ultimates available. As long as they're able to get those down, they should feel pretty good about these fights.
Sterix Gage also picked up here for the top lane GP. He's got a Cloak of Agility in the inventory too.
4,000 more gold than the next person in this game.
16k is insane.
That's more than half of RNG's gold advantage.
He has now Flame Horizon pretty much over the top of Aldi. He's got 2 level advantage. And this GP has a 700 gold bounty. 340 CS at 32 minutes in the game.
Ooh, RNG, Betty and Ming are so far forward if you look at where Xiaohu and Xiaolong Bao are on the map. The good thing is that EDG don't know where they are, so they can't really engage with the threat that they could be there. So RNG are going to be able to get away safely, and our eyes are going to turn towards the next neutral objectives. The
Baron.
The Cloud Drake coming up in 3 minutes, and the Baron.
Cloud Soul was denied by EDG before off the back of those 2 picks. Another reason why EDG have stayed in this game. But the Baron in 50 seconds, and before it was stolen away by Junja. You notice both junglers at the same level. So very important to note with the smite. RNG getting control around it once again. EDG are being very cautious, not giving away anything.
The important thing is that Xiaohu has finally picked up his death cap to amplify all of his other items, so that equalizer is going to hit really big onto people like Hope. But Hope does have a Guardian Angel, and we even see
like this, yeah, flash into the depth charge, the Cannon Barrage laid in. Where's the hot pot? The Cataclysm needs to come down now from Xiaolong Bao as he gets bursted out. That's everything. And now for EDG, they look for the re-engage. You said those ultis are down. They can fight this. Ming is getting low into the Death Realm. Aldi takes him. He can't get out of this one. As EDG, meanwhile, are trying to posture and waiting. Ming going to come out. Is he dead? Yes, he is. The Death Sentence is land, but Junji's going to go in once again. Xiaolong Bao gets ulted. He follows it. EDG with 2 again. This game shouldn't be theirs, but they're making it so.
EDG never say die. We keep thinking they're out of this game, but they keep showing up big in these team fights. RNG getting way too impatient with that engage.
When Baron's up and available, Xiaolong Bao is not. 30 seconds, they run towards it. 3 versus 5.
Everything right now is on Long Xing. He's the one with all the gold, he's the one with all the damage, and he has all the AoE coming in from these barrels.
Blind! He shouldn't be doing that! The Death Sentence is real. Scout takes an ulti away, uses it as he's stunned up. Long Xing flushes away. This GP needs to carry, but even he is forced out with his flash.
EDG just coming up so big on the pick. Xiaohu, what are you doing walking in blind? We've seen in the past Xiaohu crumbles in key moments for RNG, and this is looking like one of them.
And even though EDG don't get the Baron, they got 3 big picks after RNG started this one.
And we see here them trying they look so desperate looking for this pick. When we see on our mini-map that Baron is coming up, they blow all of their ultimates, doesn't land on anyone, and it's just what is happening with this game. We talked about EDG have more consistent damage going longer in these fights. Audi with the Death Realm onto Ming, who doesn't seem to have the QSS anymore. Now it's all about what Hope and Scout can get done. Ming gonna fall on the backside. And again, RNG just have no cooldowns left to continue this fight.
Enables Junjia to go in confidently as we have another pause. Unfortunately, no. Right as things were getting good. Oh. Not a bad game. But in all seriousness, even though RNG, you said it perfectly, the layering ultimates is everything for RNG. Even with that 7k gold lead, they missed that. What else do they have?
And we see them being so desperate and so impatient when they don't need to be. We have Baron coming up, it looked like less than 1 minute. You have another Drake coming up in 2 minutes. Pull them into you. Make it easier for yourself to land these ultimate combos. Why are you shooting an equalizer from across the map and making Xiaolong Bao go so deep, so far overextended? And then we just saw they have no more consistent DPS, only coming out from the Senna, who we saw fell pretty far behind in that early game, and not pretty far behind, but relatively to her soul laners.
Yep.
And then it's just hard to deal damage.
And then we saw as well when Xiaolong Bao tries to go on the backline, at least set up for the following members. The CC chain that comes through when EDG aren't pressured by any of the damage threats in RNG is super hard. Like the Thresh, the Silas that comes through, even the Chains of Corruption as well. Xiaolong Bao was getting pushed left, right, and center. Couldn't ult, had to back away. That's the play set in the bin. And then after that, Junjia can come in because the Rek'Sai is looking for a way into the back, and he finds the enemy jungler, which is a big move. So EDG with a bit more control than they should have at this point. To their credit, the never say die attitude lives on.
EDG just showing up so well. They're waiting for the right moment to contest. They're letting RNG make the mistakes and then capitalizing. That's how we described Game 1, and that's a great way to describe Game 2. So, and the thing I like is the team as a whole is all doing their job. We saw Hope on his Varus making that very decisive flash engage in the mid lane. Scout's just been farming up on the Silas, knowing, hey, all of my damage is in the later stages. We've seen some good death realms from Audi. You were just talking about Junjia with the engages.
And Mako. And Mako has been on point with this Thresh all game long.
Mako's been doing his job. His job is to keep Hope safe, save that lantern for a lot of these big plays. And we saw him get Hope out of the danger from that engage by RNG at the end.
It was a game that should have been over, though. This game, let's be realistic, the way it's been going should have been over towards RNG, or at least getting towards that point where EDG can't come back, especially with the size of Long Xing after that early game, with the GP who survived 2v1 dives.
Right before this fight, we saw RNG were 8,000 gold ahead.
Yeah.
When you're 8,000 gold ahead, you should be putting the enemy in uncomfortable positions where it's easier for you to win, not running again across the map, throwing down your ultimates haphazardly, and giving them the team fight they want.
RNG, a team at the moment that without Uzi, it looks like sometimes there's directional issues here. Let's go back to why we have this time. We apologize for the pause again. I'm not sure if it is Lungxing's PC once more, but we will find out as soon as we know. No, we're back. Never mind. Forget that. We don't have time anymore. Hang on. Hang on. We're not okay. Okay. All right. We're back. Hello. We still don't know what this pause is. Anyway, apparently we do have time, Lyric. RNG, there are a lot of concerns with this roster. When we were coming back from the long 2-month break due to the COVID-19, it was, okay, how do RNG look after all this? You know, still running Betty. We don't have Uzi as we expected after Chinese New Year. VG Gaming, FPX, those were serious concerns, especially the FPX series. RNG didn't really challenge the, 2019 World Champions at all.
The FPX one was a bit more not expected, but how you would see an FPX snowball go.
Yeah.
They found pressure through the bot lane, just continuously dove, and then it was hard for RNG to really play the game at all.
And then for the side of, I think with RNG, we saw the best of them, which is why they were hyped up in this series against JDG, where they were looking really, really clean. I think one of their cleanest series yet, a 2-0 against JDG, where we saw the likes of set from Lungxing with really good fighting, really good coordination, which in this second game, seeing a little bit of a flaw.
That game 1 against JDG where Xiaohu was on the Irelia and he got, I think it was a quadra kill by 10 minutes. And he was just so far ahead, they snowballed that game. Game 2, we saw Xiaolongbao ganking bot over and over and over, and just both games against JDG looked like child's play, looked so easy.
And that's why here in this series, especially the game number 1, I mean, that was, as we talked about more about towards the draft and how that played out. But game number 2 here, we're seeing those flaws that we remember in previous series. The VG Gaming was, I think, the best example, I should have said.
It's the biggest one because we're even seeing it here where against Vici, game 1, it was a very similar situation where they had a 5 or 6K gold lead, but they just kept ramming their heads into Vici when they didn't need to, like we're seeing with this game. We talked about that RNG loves to accelerate, but they're accelerating even at times where they don't need to, where they can just take a deep breath, wait for the objective, and kind of use the tools that are in their kit.
Because as you talked about in that side lane with the gameplay, no one can touch the GP or match him right now. What you need to commit for that top laner of RNG is more than enough for the rest of RNG to capitalize, right?
Let Longxing abuse his lead, let EDG come into you. That's what we talked about with RNG's comp. Again, it's good that EDG picked such a shorter range comp for you. Should be easier to land those barrels. Should be easier for you to land that equalizer.
I have gotten word in my ears that Mako has reported an in-game issue. That's where we're paused, so it is no longer Lungxing. There's a different issue entirely.
Well, the in-game issue is not affecting EDG's comeback into this game.
No, it is not. It definitely isn't. So hopefully that gets sorted out soon. Hopefully there's not too much of a wait, because RNG and EDG is a series I've been waiting for a while. I know we talked about it before, but a historical matchup. It's not like the likes of RNG IG, which is exciting as well. RNG EDG have been in each other's way for a while now.
The big one that jumps out to me is the 2014 Worlds quarterfinal, where, again, that was the Name FCZF Clear Love iteration of EDG, and still a very Uzi-focused RNG, where RNG came out on top 3-2.
And then they ended up going to the finals, right? That was the year.
Two finals in a row, 2013, 2014.
And Uzi was in both of them. I mean, that's crazy that this new 80 carry who came through in 2013 joined this roster, went to Worlds in his first year, and then the next year after that as well. It just kind of shows you how close he's been to the World Championship without winning it all. It kind of hurts a little bit, but
it's also kind of interesting how RNG's identity has been very similar since then, compared to EDG, who has drastically changed. Think back to old iterations of EDG, which played heavily around their bot lane with people, we've already mentioned Name, people like Deft, having Cora 1, Mouse in the top lane. Now we see EDG in a lot of games focusing that top side, putting resources into Audi, and their bot lane is playing more of a supporting role.
A lot of people remember the EDG with Deft and Pawn, right? That roster that was so hyped up because of the players in it. And where in
Game
China,
5 of MSI, I think, sticks in everyone's mind. It was the first time China comes out ahead in international
The first ever
tournament.
MSI, which EDG won, by the way. And then 3 years later, RNG with the roster that a lot more people will know, with Let Me, Zatai, MLXG. MSI was a win there as well. So the only 2 times that China has ever won MSI
It's these two
These
teams.
two teams. That's why it's so big organizationally. There's so much to talk about. Just a reminder on the historical record. Series EDG 12-10. There's a draw due to the best of twos. Games also EDG 32-29. So after this, EDG 33-29.
It's so weird, too, because in recent times, it has looked like RNG are obviously the much better team than EDG these previous few years. The domination in that matchup really goes back to 2014, 2015, 2016, where EDG were just the kings of Chinese League of Legends.
Where they made their debut, and from there it was first. There was so many years where EDG were just the best, undoubtedly, where they had the longest undisputed run, right? Until kind of like Royal Club came along. 2016 spring, where Royal Club actually took down EDG, gave them a second, and then EDG continued winning until 2018 spring, where Royal Club, or RNG rather, went to Worlds. So it's kind of exciting to see that RNG are always in their way. And we didn't get that rivalry last year, because it was 2018 spring where we got that last final. Last year, we got the new rivalry of like, okay, well, finals is JDG IG. Finals in summer is RNG FPX. Like, it changes. And EDG, for the first time last year, didn't go to Worlds. Since their inception in League, they've been to Worlds every single year except last.
Yeah, and the big thing for me with EDG is when they came into this year, we expected even less than last year. We did not think we didn't think they'd even make playoffs, honestly.
At all.
And here they are, again, sitting at 4-3, so not the most impressive record, but with impressive wins over top teams like eStars, like JDG, what looks like is about to be RNG.
But after what we saw in this second game with the turnaround, I mean, anything's on the table right now.
This game can go both ways. We've already set up the win conditions of both teams. It feels like the cards are probably still in RNG's hands right now, but it's slowly falling out of their favor.
Are you ready? We're back. Now, we apologize for the delay. Mako reported an issue. As we're back into the game, I believe that has been resolved.
We did just say the cards are in RNG's hands,
Yep.
and we look at the gold. They're still 6K ahead. They're sitting on Soul Point, but we talked about it is pretty black and white on their side. They group up as 5 in the mid lane, push, get pressure, walk into the river, and it really is about setting up this Wombo combo with their ultimates.
And we've been set up for a Cloud Soul here for RNG. One move here from EDG. The pick could come through in the game. They posture aggressively, using the mist to hide the identity. Junja in an aggressive position as well, and we're A-ramming EDG do this all the damn time. Mako might be caught out though, equalizer on top. The flash over though means he doesn't get hit.
RNG made it look like they were going to aggressively jump over that wall, but just wasting that equalizer.
The barrels from Lungxing to zone out. There's Cloud Soul in the pocket. Junja goes for a flank. Now he's been caught out. Over the wall he goes as RNG front to back. EDG have walked lovingly into the arms of RNG. And Lungxing has had so much rum that now he's unstoppable. Walks forward, survives as well. That's all she wrote. RNG have killed them all, bar Hope.
Longxing coming up so big in this game, dealing so much damage with his barrels. It didn't matter if there was no equalizer on the side of Xiaohu. Longxing split up EDG, and RNG just coming out ahead.
Hope cannot defend this. Full health Lungxing coming in after the TP. He doesn't need anything more than that Cloak of Agility sitting in the inventory. And RNG, they come out of the pause. They're revitalized. The Nexus turrets are going to go on down, and we got ourselves a Game 3 between the historical RNG and Edward Gaming.
RNG taking it slow at the end there, but just decisive